Hello, 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 everybody. This is Holly with Holly If You Hear Me, and I am so glad you're here. So we are live, and this is day 5. So this month, for any of you who are just joining or are just tuning in to Holly If You Hear Me for the first time, this month there are 7 days of conversations about healing the heart, and it's called Heart Problems, y'all. And so while these aren't taking place chronologically, they are taking place all throughout the month of February, and they are rooted in the book of Esther. So day 1 through 4 are found on Holly If You Hear Me under live, and then we also have a video under the video section where we had a special guest earlier this week or last week. So I suggest you go out and take a look at that. But please click the subscribe button in case that you are not currently subscribed to Holly If You Hear Me. That way you don't miss any of the amazing conversations, content, and series that are coming up. All right, so we're going to get into this conversation. Whew. So I'll say this. Thank you to everybody who are supporting and loving on this channel. Your time, your oil, your touch, all of that matters, y'all. I'm telling you, it matters. And I've had some of you reach out and say, we're waiting, we're wanting to see more. And so that's why I'm making sure that we get this series completed, y'all, and so that we can get to a place for those who are struggling to start the healing. Okay, so today, as I said, everything is rooted in the book of Esther, but today I wanted to focus in on Kairos timing. Okay, Kairos timing. So some of you may say, I know exactly what that is. Some of you are like, what does that even mean? So I think the best way to first root us in what that means is to talk about Chronos versus Kairos, right? Chronos, right? That is time that is measured in minutes, hours, days, right? A clock, you know, how you wake up every day, right? That's the time that you live your quote life according to every day. But then there's something called Kairos. Kairos. And Kairos, y'all, it is God ordained. It's a God moment. Kairos timing is an appointed time. It's a divine appointment, y'all. And we know from the book of Esther that it was a divine appointment with her placement, her positioning, and ultimately her ability to save her people. Kairos, y'all, is the moment that God says, now, activate. He will do a thing in the earth in a very swift and speedy, manner. And that is what we would consider a Kairos moment. So we ask ourselves, what are the ways that it is clearly identified that this was a Kairos moment with what Esther experienced in this story? Well, number one, Esther was positioned before she even understood her assignment. Y'all, think about that. Have you had things that have occurred in your life that you just cannot explain? Like, why did I get moved from here? Or why did these people get removed from my life? Or why does it seem like this particular thing keeps happening? You could be in the preparation and the processing for your assignment, but a lot of times you don't see it, right? Because if we already saw it, if we already knew what was going to happen, I think that processing and that reliance on the Lord, right, would look and feel a little bit different. And then we even have to ask ourselves, if we know it, if we know the ending, we know how the story ends, where does that leave room for God? Where does that leave room for us to magnify his name, glorify his name, give him the glory for that new thing that he's doing in your life, right? And so there are those moments where people look very ordinary in your life until they don't. Until that moment where that purpose is revealed and you have that, oh wow, that's what that was? Wow, I didn't see that coming. Because that's God. That's how God works. So the second way that we see this as a Kairos moment in the book of Esther is her rise happened at the exact time her people needed deliverance. Y'all, you got to think about this process, right? Like, think about it. So Esther is a woman whose parents had already perished. She didn't really have like a sense of home. Yes, she had covering through Mordecai, her cousin, right? Who looked out for her, who even is the one who really ushered her into the kingdom with King Xerxes to say, hey, this is what you need to do, right? He exposed her to that. He ultimately helped to kind of set her up for that appointed moment for God to say move, right? But Esther, she herself had no idea that she was not only just going to be vying to be the next queen, but that positioning was going to allow her to literally save the life of an entire nation. But had she not stayed faithful when she got positioned, had she not stayed faithful even when she didn't see the outcome, had she not stayed faithful even when she didn't know if she agreed, even if she felt uncomfortable, then guess what? Her people would have perished. She likely would have perished as a Jew as well, right? So y'all, we got to know that when God is showing things to us, when God is revealing even just that little bitty tiny step, you take that step of faith. Okay? You have to take that step because that step leads to the unveiling of the next and the next, which ultimately will be the revealing of your purpose, of your assignment, of that suddenly that God is trying to do in you and through you. But resistance is going to delay or deny your purpose. So what else happened, y'all? So courage was activated for such a time as this. Y'all, Esther was not crazy. Esther knew, first she knew what happened to Queen Vashti, right? Y'all remember? Queen Vashti was married to Xerxes before this entire parade of finding a new wife. And he wanted to parade her in front of the men, right? Drunken men at this big, gaudy 7-day banquet. And she said, no, I'm not doing that. And she was banished. Not only that, but when you went before Xerxes, right? There are people who literally were put to death. Listen, you didn't know if you were going to have that scepter pointed in your direction and be granted favor. But Esther had that happen to her because she stayed positioned, because she went through the process, because she trusted even when she didn't know the next and the next and the next, y'all. She hid her identity. She didn't reveal everything. She didn't say, hey, y'all, look at me. This is what's going on. No, she stayed hidden. And it got to the place where God did a suddenly. Her obedience shifted history. Think about that, y'all. Think about historic greats in your lifetime. I mean, we can most certainly look at the evidence from the Bible, but sometimes a person just being unmoved, unshaken, and unwilling to shrink in the face of opposition is that one thing that positioned them to do something so monumental that the ripples of it are still impacting a people months, years, decades, and centuries later. That's what Esther did, y'all. She knew that she could die. She was afraid. But she said, if I perish, I perish. Because what was the alternative? Her people would have died. So what are we afraid of? If the alternative is no better. But if we try, if we listen, if we're faithful, if we trust him, if we take one step, because we know he's going to meet us where we are, and we know if God placed us there, he's graced us for the moment, right? What does the book say, y'all? Mordecai said to her, and who knows but that you have come to royal position for such a time as this, y'all. That's Esther 4:14. Think about that. Think about the blessings that you have in your life. Think about the amazing accomplishments in your life. What if it wasn't for you? What if there's someone else you're supposed to bless? A people, a nation? What if there's a purpose and an assignment attached to it that hasn't even been revealed yet? Are you willing to hear? Are you willing to sacrifice? Are you willing to do what God is asking you to do, even when you don't understand, even when it don't make sense to you, even when you're like, oh, that's not what I want to do, like I'm good. Y'all, what's on the other side of obedience is the opportunity to not only shift history, right, but to save generations that could be connected to you. We have to remember that when God sees us, he don't see you, just you. He sees everything connected to you, all the work he can do through you. You are a vessel. He sees everything that he can do through you. We got to stop thinking so linear. We got to stop seeing just what's in front of us. Let him do it suddenly. It takes unshakable faith, y'all. Unyielding. It takes obedience, trust, for God to be able to say, I can do a suddenly. For him to say, this is the moment now, and change your life. We got to stop trying to be in control of everything, y'all. We got to identify what is the root cause of that. And that's what we got to cast out. Whatever that root is, y'all, that is what we've got to depart from, because it's keeping us from all of those things that we probably are sitting around like, oh Lord, please help me, give me this, Lord. You know, like you got all these hopes and wishes and wants, right? But what are you doing to meet the Lord? So that he can say, I can get us to you. What are you doing? Are you praying? What's the posture of your heart? How are you behaving when you feel wronged? Do you have kindness? Are you gentle? Are you faithful? Do you have self-control? Let God do a suddenly in your life. So y'all, this is day 5. This is day 5 of the 7-day healing conversations, heart problems, rooted in the book of Esther. So if you have not yet subscribed, please go to the subscribe button on Holly If You Hear Me and click it, y'all, because I don't want you to miss these amazing conversations as the Lord is imparting these different series and whispers in my spirit, I'm sharing it. I'm releasing it. I'm being obedient. I'm sharing it. And that's not for me, it's for you. God is not talking to me. He works through me, right? And so I want you to get that word. I want you to get healed. I want you to get to that place where you can have a suddenly in your life, where you can be blessed and grateful and thriving, not just surviving. All right, y'all. I love you. Have a very blessed day, whatever day you are watching. Take care.